somebody call my name. Heard somebody call my name, Lord. Heard somebody, heard somebody, heard somebody call my name. Get right, church, and let's go home. Get right, church, and let's go home, Lord. Get right, church, get right, church, get right, church, and let's go
But our MC, I am so proud to invite him. I cannot say his name. So I call him Chuck. He's a wonderful man.
We invite Tim Davis of the Triangle Family Church to say the morning invocation.
Dear Heavenly Parent, we are so grateful that you could gather us here together, where we can really share together as true brothers and sisters. Heavenly Parent, you are a parent of all mankind, and we are meant to be a family of brothers and sisters where we share your joy, share love, and support people, and we just want to really extend a loving heart to everybody who could come here today. I offer this prayer to you as I pray in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
And it is only God, the designer and creator of the universe, that fully understands the value and the purpose of my existence, of our existence. So God is the parent of mankind. The second implication is that I am not in charge, that we are not the deciders of reality, but we are participants, we are objects, and we need to know God as our parent so that we can understand what role do I play, what is my relationship with the people around me. So God is the parent means that we have a purpose to our life, and we also should have a certain sense of humility. That, you know, human beings are not in charge of the reality. We have to be humble. The second key point is that we are essentially spiritual in nature. One great Christian author, I forget his name, he's attributed with a quote. He said, "We don't have a soul. We are a soul. We have a physical body." And his intention for saying and explaining that is we have to understand, first and foremost, we are spiritual in nature. That should be subjective. Our personality, our character, our emotions, the things that we feel and desire out of life are more important than money or power or even knowledge. And it means that we are eternal. If God is our parent, and God designed and created us for a purpose, then we are eternal. So when you eventually pass away, what we call dying, that is not the end. And because it isn't the end, we have to be very aware of how we live our life. Because our life here is now preparation for our future. The third important key point is that we are meant to live in relationship with each other. That God's central direction or guidance for us is you should live for the sake of other people. It's not just about yourself, but it's also about how do you relate to the people around you. In your family, your friends, your teachers, whoever, the people you work with. That is most important, and it is central to every religious teaching. We call it the golden rule, right? The fourth key point that the Universal Peace Federation promotes and supports is the importance of the family. The family is the school of love. Where do we learn how to live for the sake of others? Where do we experience that God is our parent? Where do we discover and recognize that the most important part of me is the spiritual nature? It is meant to be experienced in your family. A father and a mother, parents, children, nieces, nephews, cousins, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. The relationships that we have in our family are fundamental. God designed and created the family. And it is the first place where we learn everything about how to live a proper life. The fifth and final principle is, and it grows out of that, that irregardless of our race, our nationality, our religion, whatever external, occupation we find ourselves in, or whatever our external situation might be, we must unite with each other. We can't allow our race or our culture or our national interests to prevent us from loving and supporting and caring for each other. So essential to a peaceful world is interreligious and international and interracial cooperation and support. And those are the 5 essential, fundamental principles that the Universal Peace Federation is involved in and promoting here in this room, in North Carolina, in America, and throughout the world. Thank you.
I am inviting now Mr. Emmanuel Jarvis. I think he's a commissioner, a junior commissioner with Martin Luther King Foundation. Is he here?
I want to thank you guys for having me here today, and also want to thank Sharon Stone, Sharon Pace. I'm your executive director for the North Carolina chapter, and giving me an opportunity to speak on the UPF and the similarities between your mission and actually the civil rights movement led by Dr. King. From my understanding, the Universal Peace Federation is dedicated to building a world of peace, in which everyone can live in freedom, harmony, cooperation, and prosperity. This is a lofty goal. I mean, one that many pessimists would say is completely unattainable. I'm sure people would look at your mission statement and they would say, how in the world can we live in a world of peace when we see so much destruction, violence, senseless killing in our streets? How can we live in a world of peace when nation are constantly threatening nation, when people are routinely oppressed? There's corruption, brother against brother, ethos against ethos. Will we actually truly ever see world peace? You know, the natural inclination within the heart of men is to separate, not to assimilate. We separate based upon skin color, eye color, tribe, and even religion. But it goes beyond that. Not only do we separate, but then we disparage. The inclination of men is to domineer based upon these differences, to manipulate and to control. When we look throughout all of human history, we see instances of this control. It happened to the children of Israel in Egypt. It happened in 2nd century Rome. It happened in Germany. In virtually every continent. So, to those who are here today, do not give up on world peace. Don't give up on the solidarity between the tribes. Don't give up on the day when nation will celebrate nation, when people from different countries will be able to sing together in unity, in collective pride. Do not give up on that dream. For you are the ones, you're the innovators, the trailblazers that will forge the way to this cultural harmony. Each one of you are here represented people. You represent a family, a rich heritage of faith and values. Whether it's North Africa, West Africa, South Africa, these values, once cross-pollinated, can strengthen all people. Choose not to separate or to isolate, to denigrate or to think yourselves superior or others less than. Resist the urge to exalt certain people and reduce others. Rather, serve each other in love. Serve each other in love. Be patient. Be kind. Honor one another. Understanding that we're all children of the Most High God.
Amen.
Aren't these the tenets that your founder, Reverend Moon, gave? He said, quote, even though we are deceived, still believe. Though we are betrayed, still forgive. Love completely even those who hate you. Interestingly enough, Reverend Martin Luther King said, quote, love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. Both of these men understood that love conquers all. It supersedes generational discord, past wrongdoings, and it fosters goodwill to one another. As you go through this event today, remember that we all possess the key to world peace inside of us. It's simply this. And it doesn't require necessarily a worldwide campaign or tour. It's simply this. Love the one in front of you. When you go home and there's someone in front of you, love the one in front of you. When you're at a conference and you talk to, love the one in front of you. When you're at church, just love the one in front of you. Because if you love the one directly in front of you, individual by individual, person by person, neighborhood by neighborhood, city and state and country, we will truly be able to say that we have world peace. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Please turn to your neighbor and say, love the one in front of you. Please shake your neighbor and tell him, love the one in front of you. We have to start from here to show love. Mr. Jarvis made a very, very serious presentation. He showed us who we are. He said that human beings are always inclined to dominate. And we're experiencing it right now. We all came from somewhere. And I believe, as at the time, if it was either my grandfather or great-grandfather, as at the time they were trying to come here, somebody said, don't come in. Just like we're experiencing now. Those of us who are in America already are saying, no, America is full. And that's in the nature of human beings. He also pointed out a fact that we have continued to neglect, that slavery has not been totally abolished. And I want to beg you, I want to use this platform to let you people know that slavery is still going on in Africa. This is not the white man against the black man. This is Arabs against the rest of Africa. Nigerians, Libyans, Kenyans who are trying to get to Europe through Libya are being sold into slavery. Today, some are in chains as we speak, and the world is not talking about it. I also want to bring your attention to what is going on in Nigeria, where I come from. Christians are being killed in their thousands on a daily basis, and the world is looking away. Nobody's talking about it. But he told us not to give up on world peace. He told us to love one another and love the person in front of you. So for me, I want a woman to be the president of the world, because man, Adam, through Adam, put us in this trouble today. So with that, I welcome us to the next section. Yeah, please, everybody relax. Let's watch the video. It will show you what UPF has been doing in Africa and across the world. Thank you.
Peace for all the peoples. It is a great moment for us.
The group's first stop was at a statue celebrating the liberation of slaves. The statue portrayed the pain and longing of the slaves that were sold from this location to all corners of the world. Down the road, there is a building that sits on the coast, which ends up being a slave house. Slaves were openly sold from this house. Once slaves were sold, they were confined to small rooms in groups of 15 to 20 and tied up in chains until they were shipped to the buyer. In this place of little to no sunlight, many young children and elderly were unable to survive these living conditions. A door lies at the end of the hall, and the slaves who exited this very door never returned. The slave's suffering would reach its peak at the ocean. The slaves would be herded onto boats like packs of animals in chains, and 40% of them would not survive the trip. The religious leaders conducted a ceremony to liberate and comfort the souls of those who had suffered at this very location. Together they prayed that the suffering and pain of these slaves could be transformed into seeds of peace, that their spirits could experience eternal freedom. A small ceremony was held to present a nameplate to notable persons that had visited Goree Island. Goree Island created a nameplate to honor Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon's peace activities.
So when we talk about peace in Africa, we should also talk about the root cause of conflict in Africa. Because what caused conflict in Africa in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s are still the same reasons causing conflict in Africa today. In Zamfara State, people are fighting because they found new minerals on the ground. In Congo Democratic Republic, people are fighting because there are many things that we use in our cell phones. And so, all over Africa, we have conflicts that are created by those that meet every year in Davos to pillage and steal from Africa. So, while we are addressing these issues, we also have to look at the root cause of African problems. That said, I will invite my friend, Mrs. Sharon Pace, Executive Director, UPF of North Carolina, to come and make her presentations. Oh, John, please.
And my husband.
Yes, please.
We have, at Universal Peace, we have a program called Ambassadors for Peace. And we're all over the world. And when you become an ambassador for peace, you're family. This is your family. So wherever you go, you can connect to an ambassador for peace. And hopefully they'll help you. Okay? But Ambassadors for Peace is actually giving you more work. It's not an honor that you just put on on your wall in your house and everybody looks at it. But when I call your name, I'd like you to come up. First of all, we're going to do Mary Jane, who's here Skyping with us. Mary Jane is Skyping with us. Bottom line is she was in a wheelchair, and they took her to the wrong gate. So she was waiting in front of the wrong gate on the wrong plane. Otherwise, she was going to make it here. Hold it for you. Would you like to say something, Mary?
Okay, you can talk, Mary Jane. They're watching you. You can go ahead and say.
I just want to say thank you. This is just an honor. I have never seen this kind of selflessness in an organization. I feel as I am one of you already, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, she's a CEO of A Jew, global media, TV show, and where she focuses on inner city children and poverty-stricken areas that are not supported by our government. And she's a counselor for rape and domestic violence and victims as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next person is Martins Ogobu from Nigeria. Come on up here, Martins. He's the CEO of Blue Rose Media Production. You see him with his camera, so make sure that you talk to him. You can be on Hollywood. He was CEO of the Blue Rose Media Production, founded in 1999. He is the president of Inugo Professionals for Good Governance, a silent inspiration to many African youth. And last but not least, Tony Ikea. E-K-E-H. And she has two beautiful children. She works a human resources professional, a career counselor, a mentor, helps with blood drive, health fairs, shelters, and she's gotten numerous awards. So let's thank them all. For
you guys that have been appointed today, it's a great challenge for you. It's an opportunity for you. I can assure you that wherever you go in the world to talk about peace, UPF will support you fully. I want to invite the choir back to give us a song before we go to group discussions.
This song, I'd like to invite all of you to join us. It's a welcoming song. It's a very popular song that we sing to the guests whenever they visit African countries. It's called Jambo, which means hello. So I just want to teach you the chorus. So if we can all stand. So I'm gonna sing and then you say Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata. Again. Hakuna Matata. Again. Hakuna Matata. So when I say Africa mzuri, Hakuna Matata. Again. Africa mzuri, Hakuna Matata. Nchi yenye majani, Hakuna Matata. Jambo, jambo bwana, habari gani? Mzuri sana, wageni wakaribishwa. Afrika yetu hakuna matata. Afrika mzuri, hakuna matata. Jambo, jambo bwana, habari gani? Mzuri sana, wageni wakaribishwa. Afrika yetu hakuna matata. Afrika mzuri yo, hakuna matata. Senegal mzuri, hakuna matata. Nigeria mzuri, hakuna matata. Kenya mzuri, hakuna matata. Amerika mzuri, hakuna matata. Jambo, jambo bwana, habari gani? Mzuri sana, wageni wakaribishwa. Afrika yetu hakuna matata.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Get right, church, and let's go home. Get right, church, and let's go home. Get right, church, get right, church, get right, church, and let's go home.